acre. Think about that. That eightfold increase, that came from American innovation. That came from, advancements in agronomy, genetics, our crop care products, and knowledge, our ability to make sure that we were food secure. It's happening in other crops too, but the reality is we need to protect that, because if we don't keep up that same rate, we won't be able to feed a world population of 9 or 10 billion people. So we have to do it today.
Tell me a little bit about your background. You started here, so tell me more.
Yeah, certainly. So our family came to the United States back in the late 1600s, both sides from Switzerland. Mm-hmm. We landed in Philadelphia and actually lived down in Virginia for a while. But, we fought in the Revolutionary War. We fought in the Civil War. We fought in World War I and World War II. But during that time frame, we made our way from the East Coast and by wagon with 9 children on and made it to northern Indiana, where it's home today. It has been since 1837. I'm the 7th generation farmer there. My children are running it. They're 8th generation, of course, and I have 2 grandchildren just graduated from Purdue University that they'll be the 9th if they choose to come back to the farm with their agriculture degrees. So during that time frame, I look at those productivity increases. I look for the hardships that they had to live through during that time frame. But today I look at our agriculture then, I look where it's at now, and our ability to protect the environment, our ability to protect the earth, the climate, our productivity gains. We've done a lot, but we don't talk about it often.
Now, tell me a little bit about this, the corn seed that you sell, right? And why the Chinese nationals that you described might be so interested in that. Like, what is it about this corn seed that makes it so valuable to them, in your mind?
Well, it's obviously what's so valuable to them is the increased productivity, the yields you can get from it. But, I don't want to get too down in the weeds here, but we will take a version which we call the female and a male version, and we'll grow them together in the field, and we create a hybrid. But when we plant them, they are still inbred parent lines. And so can take 10, 12 years to produce some of these inbreds, or to insert the genes into them that you need to protect them against insects or some weeds or some disease. So there's a lot of value there. And I think it's very attractive and very easy. It's not like we have security fences around all our fields to protect them, but, they're very permeable, and they've been able to come in and dig up these seeds and start from scratch and produce it themselves.
I guess this is what I'm trying to. It took you 12 years to breed this specific line, and so this is the IP. This is your intellectual property that's being stolen.
Yes, it is. And whether it would be the intellectual property of Bayer or Corteva, some of the major producers of the seeds, they're the ones that do all the breeding and scan and analyze millions of different varieties every year. It's just not random where they go to the shelf and pull a couple off and say, let's try this. It's they actually catalog and can screen a lot of varieties. And that comes at a huge expense. Some of these companies are spending upwards of $4 to $5 million a day trying to discover new genetics and making sure that they're increasing productivity. But we look forward to the time where we're producing seed genetics that may have a nutraceutical component to it for consumer health. We look for others that maybe have a better attribute for livestock, or maybe something for the biofuel sector. So there's a lot of work continually goes on in the seed industry, but it's probably advanced U.S. agriculture more than anything else. And that genetics also plays over into the livestock or the protein sector, whether it's pork or cattle or chickens, the way we can advance them to be more efficient. We want to use less fuel. We want to use less chemicals. We want to increase productivity and make sure that we're doing what's right for the environment.
So how much of a hold over U.S. ag does the Chinese regime have right now? I don't know if you can give me some kind of a picture, some kind of measure.
Yeah, to say what they have hold over, I would say my earlier comments of where nearly 70% of our crop care products, pesticides or chemicals, if you want to call them, are produced abroad, most of that in China. That's a big hold. We see some of our computer chips that run equipment that are coming from China. That's a big risk. We look at the drones that sometimes we spray our fields with that are produced in China, DJI. It's hard for a U.S. manufacturer to compete against them because of the subsidy that the Chinese government is giving to DJI, and then of course our photos and our data is being uploaded into their own servers. So there's many places where the Chinese can insert themselves and collect data, and that's why I get really cautious about when I see companies like Fufang and others that wanted to build, in our case, a lysine plant in Kingsbury, Indiana, next to a major rail line, a major intersection of where data is transported through optic fiber cable too. So there are just so many ways, and we can't take anything for granted.
As we finish up, if there's one specific thing that you think would be a urgent policy prescription now, what would that be?
I think we need to have a national agricultural strategy focused solely on agriculture and food, to where we work with the private sector alongside government, really analyze what the risk is, and then take the measured steps and action to go forward and make sure we're protected from any risk from the Chinese Communist Party infiltrating and taking away our own food security here in the United States. As I said, food security is our national security. And if we leave that open to be continuing to be compromised by the Chinese Communist Party, our own food security is at risk. And as I said, all societies are only 3 meals from chaos. And I don't want that to happen here.
Well, Kip Thom, it's such a pleasure to have had you on.
It's an honor to be with you today. Thank you.
Thank you all for joining Kip Thom and me on this episode of American Thought Leaders. I'm your host, Yanya Kellick.